What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up and Chat. My name is BJ Mathews, aka B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, Spotify, Iheartradio, Twitter, TikTok, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos, hit that notification bell. Buy the subscribe button, get updated content. Let's get it pop. All right, we got to get some things established in this video, right? I got a few questions for the audience pertaining to this subject. What is the criteria of the NBA Most Valuable Player Year Award? I'm going to ask again, what is the criteria of the NBA Most Valuable Player Year Award? I need to hear it from the masses. Let me give my sentiments on what I believe it is and what it's been over the last probably over 20 years. And let's get into it like that. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on numbers. I'm going to spend more time on just, solid facts and information from the past, history that kind of simulates my point. The Most Valuable Player Year Award is given every single year in the season of the NBA season. Used to be right after about the first, second round of the NBA year. Now they wait to almost the end of the year to the finals to give the MVP out, or in some cases even after who the NBA MVP is going to be. My prediction is they'll probably wait some time in the second round, third round of the playoffs to see who they're going to get the MVP to. But it's a season award. It's not has nothing to do with the playoffs. It's all about your season, your wins, and things of that nature. So, most valuable. Valuable comes off as the person who is of importance to your organization or to something that you're a part of as a team, right? So the most valuable player of the year award is the person who's the most important piece to the team's success, right? If they take that person off that team, what would they be? How have they been impactful to that team for the duration of the season? Things of that nature. That's what the value is. That's what circulates around value. It's not primarily the best player in the league. You could be the most valuable player, but you can also be not the best player in the NBA. I'll give you guys an example. Back in 2000, I believe, was it 6? Steve Nash won the MVP award of the Phoenix Suns. Y'all know Steve Nash. He was the famous Canadian point guard, great point guard. He won the MVP over Kobe Bryant. Now, we all know Steve Nash is not a better player than Kobe Bryant whatsoever. That's the year that Kobe Bryant, had the 81-point game. That's the year that Kobe Bryant had averaged 35 points a game. That's the year that Kobe Bryant, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Steve Nash averaged, I believe, somewhere around 17, 18 points a game and about 10 assists. And the MVP voters gave the MVP to Steve Nash over Kobe Bryant. Why? Because the Phoenix Suns that year were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, while the LA Lakers number 7. So, even though Kobe's a more better overall player than Steve Nash, the value that Steve Nash brought to the Phoenix Suns is why the voters gave it to Steve Nash, because of the wins. And my definition of criteria of the MVP, I thought, was your wins and how you match up to other MVP candidates, as well as the moments of that season. That's what I feel like the MVP candidacy should have always been. But now I'm starting to see that they're trying to throw little monkey wrenches into the MVP discussion to support certain candidates. Over the last, I would say, maybe 3-4 years, this PER stat has been big when, trying to, up somebody's ranking in the MVP. Statistics are somewhat important, but that should not be the number one reason you get the MVP. And what I'm talking about is Nikola Jokic. Now, it's a race between Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. That seems to be the 3-man race. Joel Embiid has been the most consistent all season. Joel Embiid has had a better record than Nikola Jokic for the entire duration of the season. Now, people are going to say, well, it's because of James Harden coming onto the team. I'm going to get to that lie in a minute, because they keep putting this up on sports shows, and it's really getting on my nerves, because these are the people that's actually voting for these MVP awards, and they're the ones who need to be more informed. But it seems like, to me, they're just as clueless as certain people out here in the actual basketball world. I can see it as fans who try to, cap or lie for certain guys they like. But these sports reporters and commentators and analysts are responsible for these MVP voting. And it seems like to me, they're not even putting out really good information. First of all, James Harden has hurt Joel Embiid's case for MVP. Why? Because before James Harden got there, the Sixers were better and had more wins, and Joel Embiid was more of a front runner for the MVP candidacy. James Harden comes onto the team, they lose key matchups against Brooklyn, Denver, Milwaukee, right? 3 big games, televised games on James Harden's watch. They're there. They lose those games. Before James Harden came onto the team, Philadelphia beat Denver when Nikola Jokic was there. They beat Milwaukee, where Joel Embiid had 45 points and 14 rebounds. And they beat Brooklyn with James Harden on that team, on the Brooklyn team with Kevin Durant. And I think Joel Embiid had over 40 points, right? So he has not helped Joel Embiid's case because they're losing games. And on top of that, let's say they were winning games. The MVP committee would be saying, oh, because James Harden is there, we can't give him that nod for MVP, right? So it's a lose-lose for Joel Embiid either way it goes. But if it's going to be a lose-lose, you got to at least win those key matchup games. So James Harden is not helped at all. Joel Embiid didn't have Ben Simmons for the entirety of the season, and yet and still he had that team in the top 2, top 3 seed a large portion of the beginning of the year and the middle of the year. All that stuff ties into it. He's going to be the leading scorer of the NBA most likely. Rotating players in and out on that Philadelphia roster. He's been the most consistent out of any other candidate aside of Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo really became close to the MVP candidacy within the last month, right? But Joel Embiid's more consistently great the entire season. So how do you surpass a guy who's been consistent the entire season, vice versa, a guy who just came in and just really just started being impactful? Nikola Jokic is getting recognition. I'm going to be very honest about this. Nikola Jokic is getting this recognition because of his advanced metrics and stats. What the statistics he's putting up, he can fill up a stat sheet. That's awesome what he's doing. But that's never been the criteria of the MVP candidacy. So why is it the MVP committee making that candidacy now? Why is that part of this discussion? Why is that even part of the criteria? You had 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists. Why is that element even being highlighted as part of the reason why you get the MVP? It's a great thing for him to do, but my gosh, Nikola Jokic has been the same player the last 2-3 seasons. Like, he's going to fill the stat sheet. That's what he does for the Denver Nuggets. Nothing new. So I see a lot of, advertising and a lot of trying to up Nikola Jokic's rank to try to make it attractive for him to get the MVP. Because if I want to go through Joel Embiid's campaign, dude has had over 40. He's had over 10 40-point games this season. Over 10. Right? And Giannis Antetokounmpo, I can understand more if he got it, because again, with the matchups, he matched up with Joel Embiid, outplayed him last week, and they got the win in Philadelphia against Milwaukee. So I can understand why Giannis had a consideration, but the only thing about Giannis is he hasn't really been as consistent as Joel Embiid, as well as he has Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday for the entirety of the season. So there wasn't really no friction around that Milwaukee team. And he's still tied with, the Bucks. The Bucks and the Sixers are pretty much tied in the Eastern Conference. It's the same record. So really, Joel Embiid still, even with all that, he still has the same record as Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I will put him number 2. I will put Devin Booker, and this is where people are going to get really upset with me. I will put Devin Booker over Nikola Jokic for this season. Why? Because if we're going by criteria has always been about your wins, your matchups, as well as also the key moments of the season. Say what you want about Phoenix. Phoenix is well coached. Phoenix has this, Phoenix has that. It doesn't matter if you lead your team to the best record in the NBA. What Steve Nash did back in 2006 and 2005, where he got back-to-back MVPs and nobody batted an eye. Where Kobe didn't have any help, and he had a poor roster, and they're number 7 in the Western Conference. No one batted an eye They still gave the MVP to Steve Nash, who was the top seed in the Western Conference. They didn't care who was on his team. So why is it even different from Devin Booker? Devin Booker outplayed Nikola Jokic literally 2 weeks ago, but nobody batted an eye about it. As a matter of fact, all what happened was people started opening their eyes to saying, "Whoa, this guy Devin Booker's pretty good. He's actually not a bad player." I'm like, dude, Devin Booker has been consistent the entire year. When Chris Paul was out for a 15-game stretch, the Suns went 11-4. So that's telling you that Devin Booker's success is based off of himself and not just CP3. So that should already open your eyes to put him in the MVP candidacy. And again, it's not about your statistics when it comes to MVP. It's about your wins, your losses, and the key moments of the season, right? And my thing is, if you're going to give Nikola Jokic the MVP, right, which they're pretty much trying to lean to give him the MVP, why don't you give Ty Lue the Coach of the Year? Why not give Ty Lue the Coach of the Year? Because Ty Lue has been dealing with more injuries than any other team in the NBA. That's facts. You missed 79 games with Kawhi Leonard, 50 games with Paul George, 27 games with Marcus Morris, 22 games with Norman Powell, 22 games with Nicholas Batum. Why not give Ty Lue the Coach of the Year? And has a chance to be the 7th seed right behind Denver. They're not going to do that. They're going to give an MVP to somebody like a Monty Williams or the coach from Cleveland or the coach from Memphis because they have better records. No matter what the narrative is, they're going to give him the Coach of the Year. They're not going to give it to Ty Lue. So that's, to me, that shows a lot of, favoritism in the media voting. Because if you're going to go by the fact that Nikola Jokic doesn't have Jamal Murray, but yet they're the 6th seed, how about giving that Coach of the Year to Ty Lue, has a chance to be the 7th seed, and he didn't have his 2 best players for the majority of the season. So people pick and choose when to show favoritism. But that's all I gotta say about that. You guys continue like my Facebook, my YouTube page, Pull Up Basketball Podcast, Pull Up C, Pull Up Share, Pull It Up. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.